Hi, good morning, all you newbies, or this afternoon for some of us. I hope that you are all hunkered in and ready for this 3 to 4 more inches that's going to be coming our way. We just cannot believe it, can we? I mean, we just got spoiled with the fall and the early morning, or I'm sorry, early months of this year of 2023. And now it seems like we are paying for it. And God is reminding us that it's winter. And so I'll just give you a little update on that since we're waiting to start right at noon to be good respecter of people's time. But of course, we are full to the brim. You might have saw on our social media that we literally have we have used one overflow room at the Lydia House, our women and family facility, and we have moved into our second overflow room. So total overflow at the Lydia House is about 31. And then we have overflow at our men's center. All of our emergency bunk beds are full, and we've moved into our chapel and our dining room and our day room. So it is definitely not the ideal situation, but way better than being outside. Well, it's noon. And because I want to be a good respecter of your time, and meaningful moments and minutes is all about minutes. So we do this in about 20 minutes about a hot topic or a social issue that someone in the community has posed for me to talk about. And so today we are talking about food insecurity and poverty. Interesting enough, we found that although there may be only 20 or so of us on live, we know that hundreds of people watch the Zoom afterwards. So we are finding a lot of feedback. So if today this isn't a topic that you wanted to hear about, and there's something else that you really would like to hear about, please don't hesitate to email me at odm@opendoormission.org and say, Candace, would you consider this topic in the future? And we'll grab that and we will definitely share that in the upcoming months. Couple of introductions. Logan is my digital director at the Open Door Mission, and you might
Hi.
see time on Facebook Live or on some of our social media pages. And then Joanne Dodd is helping me, our capital campaign director, and she's going to be helping me as we're going to do something that I've never done before, which is some fabulous polls. And so pretty excited about trying that today in our PowerPoint. So if I do this right, hopefully you are going to see a slideshow that says meaningful minutes with Open Door Mission President and CEO. Does that look like what you guys are seeing?
Not yet.
Lo, do you see it now?
No.
Because it's coming up on my page. Technology is great when it works, isn't it?
Right.
Let me try again. Edit that, go back here. I'm going to share my screen. Oh, it helps if I say share. Now I'm sharing. Isn't that great? That's my lovely family you're seeing there at one of our big events, Ladle of Love. My husband thought it'd be fun to go through face painting. We didn't. That was so fun because then it turned out to be not a picture that we could use. And so, but nevertheless, it was a fun time. Ladle of Love is back by popular demand. Did I do it right now, ladies and gentlemen?
Yes, it's there.
Yeah, that looks
Awesome.
good.
Well, when you talk about food insecurity in our community, you can't help but
Mhm.
talk about serving 3 meals a day at the Open Door Mission.
Mhm.
All of our food programs together is about 4,747 meals being provided. And that is through our hot meal program, our SAC lunch, our Manna food pantries, and our street ministry. This just happens to show you that the food line starts way here going through this door, coming out this door. And you can see the line is wrapping around our dining room down into the hallway. And so that is just showing you the food insecurity issues that we are seeing amongst those experiencing homelessness. And then you'll also see that we have food insecurity issues at our homeless prevention consumer choice food pantry. We actually see that people line up about 2 hours ahead of time before we even open our doors. And you just would not do that if you did not need food. And so, and it is cold out, but this is just showing you a typical day outside our Timberlake Outreach Center. You know, poverty is the inability to have nutritious food, clothing, and your reasonable shelter, and just basically your basic needs are not being met. And that is the easiest way that I can explain poverty when I go to speak at churches, businesses, and schools. And I think across the board, regardless of your age or demographic, you can understand that description. And you know, I thought that we would share a couple of things when it comes to the number of people living in poverty in the US. Has it decreased? And I'm going to do a poll on, is this one I'm doing a poll on? I believe it is, Joe.
Yes, so this is our first quiz question.
So
And here it
you get to actually tell us what you think. And so you get to literally write true or false, and then you can get to know if that's the right number or not. Joanne will end the poll. 100% of you believe that is a false statement. Is that correct, Joanne? Did I read that right?
Okay, I'll end the poll, and then I'm gonna share results. And I've
Because I can see it, and it says 100% believe that it is a false, actually.
okay.
And so actually the number of people living in poverty in the US in the US has decreased. And oh, it's knocked my, there we go. And actually that is true. Believe it or not, in 2013, we had 45.3 million people that were living in poverty. And today, 2020, the government is saying that we only have 37 million. Now, I know that for many of you, that may be puzzling. It's puzzling to me. I'm wondering, are we counting everybody? Are we getting those that are couch surfing? Are we finding those that are living with family in campgrounds? All of those things. I have lots of questions about this. In the US, is there more women living in poverty than men? I thought this might be just something for you to think about when it comes to gender specific things. Actually, it's true. There are more women that live in poverty than men. And we actually see this in our homeless prevention. We also see it in our numbers of people experiencing homelessness, because women and children are the fastest growing population of those experiencing homelessness. And then I thought this would be a great poll question, because children being one of the fastest growing populations of the homeless, in 1946, the National School Lunch Program served 200 billion lunches to school children in need since that program started. Amazingly enough, my question is, do you think that's true? True or false? What was the answer, Joe?
All right, I'll end. And I just it doesn't tell me on my side that how many people answered for some reason.
So it's actually a 60-40. 60% of you believe that's a true statement, and 40% believe it's false. And actually, I don't know why my number's not coming up, Joe.
I'll stop sharing. Hit your next button.
I think you're knocking me off with the polls.
I shut it down for a bit.
If you could just hit next for me.
I don't think I can. I don't have access to your screen because I'm viewing your screen.
Oh, there we go. That's a true statement. It's interesting. When the whoops, I'm just going to go back there for a minute. When the school lunch program, you might have heard of this program, when children live in poverty, they qualify for free lunch programs at school. And we see more women and children experiencing homelessness in the summertime because they can escape domestic violence. One of the leading causes of those that are in experiencing homelessness that are women and children is due to being a victim of domestic violence. But also we see that our numbers for our Manna Food Pantry and the number of meals we serve in our community kitchen goes much higher in the summer months because families actually don't have to live at the Open Door Mission to come and eat. And so we see those numbers increasing in the summer months. According to the US government, and this is just a mind-boggling thing to understand, if you're a family of 4 and there's, let's just say 2 adults and 2 children living in poverty, if they earn less than $35,000 annually, are they considered poverty? Do you consider $35,000 annually for a family of 4 to be enough to live on? Actually, it's false. You have to make less than $25,701 to be considered poverty. I'm here to tell you, this is just a ludicrous number that we are using when it comes to assistance. You know, we are working at the Open Door Mission to create independence and self-sufficiency, but I'm working against a system that is creating a lot of entitlement and a lot of dependence. You see, I have families that actually go to school and go to work and lose all their benefits because they make more than $25,000. But if they stayed home and did nothing, they would receive everything. How can that be right? I mean, when you have a mother that's a single mom who's working at Burger King and she gets a 25-cent raise, but she has to humble herself and shamefully enter that manager's office to say, I cannot accept this 25-cent raise because it knocks me off childcare and I can't afford to pay for my 3 children with your 25-cent raise. It's very, very humbling because it's 1 step forward and 2 steps back when you're trying to get out of poverty. Most people living in poverty are African American. What do you think? A lot of people say this to me. And interesting enough, at the Open Door Mission's Timberlake Outreach Center during the holiday season, especially, every other person we served, we were using actually Google Translate. And it's very time consuming because of the diversity of the ethnicity and cultures that we're serving. Just in homeless prevention. And as taxpayers, you should be ecstatic that we're serving over 10,000 households, empowering them to stay in their own homes because they're not actually coming onto the government assistance programs. They're actually being empowered to be in their own homes and not experiencing the trauma of homelessness. It's false. Actually, Native Americans make up 25% of the people living in poverty. And then you can see the breakdown. We actually see this number a little bit different in our homeless prevention, in our homeless shelter programs. Actually, in our homeless shelter programs, the largest ethnicity is white, Caucasian. Yes. And we also see very few Latinos, Hispanic populations in our shelter system. Do you know why? Because that culture takes care of themselves. In one home, you could have mama and papa, and you could have an auntie, and you could have a number of people living in that home, making ends meet, staying together as a family. So very rarely see those that are in the ethnicity culture of a Hispanic Latino come through our shelter system. The poverty rate among the elderly in the US is higher than that of any age group. True or false? This is a great poll question because I don't think people realize what's going on. Well, 67% of you believe that to be false. Oh, you changed your answers. It's bouncing back and forth on me here. Some people wavered on their answers. Here we go. 57% believe that's false, and actually 43% believe that it is true. And actually, it is false. The poverty rate for kids under 18 is higher at 16.2, but look how fast seniors are growing. We're almost to 10% of our population of our seniors are living in poverty. And we see that at our outreach centers. We now have our seniors that we allow them to come in twice a month instead of once a month, because they are what we consider to be asset heavy, because they own their homes, but they're cash dry because of all the mounting bills that of property tax and house insurance, medications. Those are the three things that we hear about on a regular basis: house and car insurance, property tax, and medications eating up our seniors' fixed incomes. And so we allow our seniors to come twice a month to supplement their income. We find that they choose pop top cans. Those are much easier to open than using a can opener to turn. We also have a large population that requests Depends because of the incontinence issues. So we are watching this population very closely over these last 5 years to see if we need to change how we serve to be able to better serve seniors in our community because of that growing population. And let's be honest, people are living way longer than they ever have before, thanks to medical and knowledge of how to be better healthy and so forth. The US has the largest country's programs to alleviate poverty, larger than any other country, Canada, Germany, England, yet a continued increase in our SNAP and our food programs and our DHHS and child poverty since 2008 is not alleviating our poverty numbers. Yeah, so I'm not sure a government program is the answer. Would you agree? If we're pouring millions of dollars into those government programs and we're not seeing a decrease in the poverty numbers, then we need to look at some other things that we're doing. Poverty-stricken families, individuals, and just frankly, people experience in our own country malnutrition, a lack of food supply, temporary food shortage, hunger, lack of housing, and actually result in homelessness. I want to tell you what Open Door Mission does to combat food insecurity and, of course, poverty. We offer 916 shelter beds on our campus. We actually, you could call us 24/7 at our main number, and we will have staff on duty assist you. And walk-ins are always welcome. If you have nowhere else to go and you don't have access to a phone, you can just walk in our door and our frontline team will serve you. We believe that food for the heart, it's really important to meet people's physical needs before you can start to talk to them about life improvement or spiritual needs. And that's why I mentioned more than 4,747 meals are served in our community kitchen, our Manna Food Pantry, our Sack Lunch program, and our street ministry. 28% of children don't know where their next meal will come from. And 42% of children in Nebraska actually qualify for the free lunch program. 1 in 7 people in the heartland, right here, our neighbors, face hunger. At the Open Door Mission, we believe food for the soul is life-changing and transforming. These are many of the programs that we offer at the Open Door Mission. Homeless prevention, we truly is our second largest program of 40 that we offer at the Open Door Mission. I love this snapshot because it shows the diversity of the people that we are serving at the Open Door Mission. These are some of the programs that we offer through homeless prevention. And if you ever thought that it makes a difference, I'll never forget a family that came through the doors to get a Manna Food Pantry. And as the food pantry was going out to the meals, to the family, I can't share with you, it was so humbling to have this little girl bring a little package of hot, dried up ho-hos, those little chocolate ho-hos off the dashboard of her station wagon car and say, I was going to have these for supper, but you guys can have them because I have so much more now. From the mouth of babes, from the mouth of babes. Pray for the homeless. Pray for those that have food insecurity issues. Pray for those that are in our community that need to have resources. And many times it's very shameful and guilt-ridden to actually ask for assistance. And we try to eliminate that experience when people come to us for help. I also, if you ever are looking for some reflections on poverty, I threw these up here. And several of you in the past have emailed me and asked me to send you the PowerPoint. And I would be happy to do that. If you email us at odm@opendoormission.org, you can actually have this PowerPoint. You can change it, you can make it better, and you can share it with others. Well, I used my whole 20 minutes except for one lowly minute. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen, pop back on here, and just say, is there any questions that you might have that we're pressing when it comes to food insecurity, poverty in our own community? I will share with you that we have a 50% increase in those that are experiencing food insecurity. And keep in mind, Manna Food Pantry, Street Outreach, Sack Lunch Program, those are actually subsidiary programs to our main programs at the Open Door Mission. And so we are continuing to see almost a 38% increase in food costs at the Open Door Mission. When you go to buy your food, you may notice that some of the shelves are maybe lacking some food products. You may have noticed that there's an increase, and we are too at the Open Door Mission. In fact, I have not been able to buy at the food bank for over 5 years. And so I actually have to buy from vendors right in our own community, just like you are buying food, except for you're buying a bag and I'm buying a whole pallet and skid of food at a time. And people just don't have the volume that we need to meet the needs. So it's very challenging right now at the Open Door Mission. Well, goodness, I used up that whole 20 minutes. And I'll just take a quick peek here and see if there's a chat going on. And nobody has sent me any questions. So you're an awful quiet group today. Maybe by choice, maybe because you're just saying, yay, a snow day. And you're thinking, woohoo, another S day. Or else you're just thinking, gosh, this is a lot to think about. And how can I be used to meet some of our neediest neighbors? I really believe that we have the opportunity to influence people around us. And I think that God brings people into our lives, and we have the opportunity to choose joy and share that with them. I also believe that you do have to meet people's physical needs first. And food is a real issue. And I know in our community, we want to talk about a housing and a mental health crisis, but we actually have a food crisis as well. Brenda, I believe the reason that I have not been able to buy quality food at the food bank is because they do not have it. In fact, the last time that it was offered for us, it was Mountain Dew and raisins. And that's really not a couple of items that I would consider to be something to put on the food line to supplement someone's income. I will tell you, during COVID, there was a lot of fresh fruit and vegetables. We participated with Farmers of America and a couple of programs where we were just seeing semi-truckloads of fresh produce and fruit and vegetables coming into our community. But once COVID was over, guess what? The rubber meets the road, and those farmers can sell their products way cheaper to people outside of our country. And that's a lot of our fresh produce and is going outside of us. Yes, it is very interesting how the system works. And it's very common for us to work with, especially families, mothers, single mothers, that have to really watch how much they make, because it would never, until they get through the threshold, especially when they're going to school and going to work at the same time, they could never pay for the childcare with those small increment raises. Well, I just want to thank you for your time as we discussed meaningful minutes today on food insecurity. And I hope that you will join us next month for just 20 minutes as we are going to tackle another meaningful subject. And I apologize. I'm just struggling to find what that is this moment. But guess what? You'll get an invitation for it. And so you'll have to stay tuned for what that meaningful minute is. God bless you. Stay warm, stay safe, and remember to pray for the Open Door Mission and those that will be seeking refuge with us. God bless.
All right.